What if I told you that one of the most powerful forces in global pop culture doesn't scream for attention? He whispers. That one of the most recognized faces on Earth came from a small town in South Korea, with no fame, no connections, not even announced as a debut member of BTS, and yet somehow became the heartbeat of a global movement. This isn't just the story of Kim Taehyung, known around the world as V from BTS. This is the story of a boy who never quite fit the mold. A boy who didn't chase the spotlight, but let his quiet brilliance attract it. A boy who almost didn't make the cut, whose name wasn't even made public until the very last minute. A boy who stood in the background, until the world had no choice but to look his way. He didn't rise because he tried to be like everyone else. He rose because he dared to be himself. In a world addicted to noise, he chose stillness. In an industry that lives for trends, he chose timelessness. While others memorized choreography, V studied emotion. While many perfected pitch, he explored tone. And through that difference, he didn't just become a star. He became a phenomenon. This video isn't about gossip. It's not about fan service or who wore what at the airport. This is about legacy. We're going to break down how V went from an unknown trainee in Daegu to becoming the global face of style, sound, and storytelling. How he built one of the most loyal fan bases in music history. How he created a lane for himself in an industry that wasn't designed for someone like him. You're going to see how V turned his natural uniqueness into power. How he built his personal brand on energy, stillness, and authenticity. How he mastered the art of impact through subtlety. This isn't just a story about BTS. It's a story about how to be undeniable, even if the world doesn't understand you at first. It's a lesson for artists, creators, entrepreneurs, and anyone who ever felt too quiet, too sensitive, too different to make it big. So if you've ever felt like you're on the outside looking in, this story is for you. If you've ever doubted whether being yourself was enough, V is living proof that it is. And if you want to build something real in a digital world obsessed with trends, it's time to study how he did it. Because this isn't just about how V became an icon. It's about how you can build your own kind of greatness without ever pretending to be someone else. So if you're ready to go deeper, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with someone who needs to believe in quiet power again. Let's begin. Here's how V from BTS became one of the most silently powerful icons of our time. Before the stadium lights, before the magazine covers, before the fans screamed his name across continents, there was a quiet boy from Daegu. Kim Taehyung, now known as V, didn't come from privilege. His story doesn't begin with connections or viral fame. It starts on a farm, surrounded by simplicity, raised by his grandparents while his parents worked hard to provide for the family. This was not a childhood marked by spotlights. It was marked by dreams. Even as a kid, Taehyung had something in his eyes. Not just curiosity, but something deeper. A hunger, a spark, a belief that somehow he was meant for more. He'd listen to music on old radios. He'd sing to himself, not for attention, but because the music made him feel alive. And while others saw the boy in baggy clothes walking to school, what they didn't see was the world he was already building in his mind, full of rhythm, color, and meaning. He didn't grow up in a city overflowing with opportunity. He didn't have access to elite vocal coaches or expensive dance academies. But he had imagination. He had emotion. And most of all, he had grit. In middle school, Taehyung picked up the saxophone. Not because he thought it would make him famous, but because he loved the sound. He practiced relentlessly, even when others teased him. It was through that instrument that he learned something critical: how to express feeling without words, how to let emotion guide creation. One day, almost by accident, he accompanied a friend to a big hit audition. He wasn't even planning to try out. But something inside him whispered, why not? So he stepped in. He sang. He let it all out. And something happened in that room. Silence. Then surprise. Then recognition. He was the only one selected that day. That was the beginning. But it wasn't easy. V became a trainee, which in the K-pop world means stepping into one of the most competitive, grueling environments imaginable. Training from morning to midnight. Dancing until your feet bleed. Singing until your voice cracks. Competing constantly, not just with others, but with the doubt in your own head. For 2 years, Taehyung trained in complete silence. No one outside Big Hit knew he was even part of BTS. Fans had theories. His name wasn't mentioned. He was the secret member, the hidden card. Imagine that. You're giving everything, your time, your energy, your heart, and no one sees you. No one cheers. No one claps. You're invisible. Most would give up. But not V, because he wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing purpose. Then, finally, in 2013, the curtain lifted. BTS debuted, and V stepped into the light. But even then, he wasn't the most talked about member. He wasn't the center of attention. In those early years, Taehyung stood on stage, quietly giving performances with heart, waiting for the world to notice. And little by little, they did. There was something magnetic about him. Something different. His deep voice, unexpected. His expressions raw. His movement, like he was channeling emotion from another world. He didn't perform. He transformed. Fans began to sense it. They didn't just see a singer. They saw an artist. Someone unafraid to be strange. Someone unafraid to be real. And behind the scenes, he was still that same thoughtful boy from Daegu, loyal, introspective kind. The kind of person who noticed when a team member was tired, who spoke up when something didn't feel right, who stayed humble despite the fame growing faster than anyone could control. As BTS rose, charting globally, winning awards, breaking records, V carved out a unique identity. Not just as part of the group, but as a singular creative force. He began exploring photography, filmmaking, fashion. He started painting, writing. He wasn't doing it to go solo. He was doing it because he had stories to tell that couldn't be confined to 3-minute songs. In 2019, he released Scenery, his first self-produced track. It wasn't hyped by labels. It wasn't pushed by mainstream media. It was uploaded quietly for free to SoundCloud. And within hours, it broke records. Why? Because it was honest, raw, beautiful. You could feel the winter air in the melody, the longing in the lyrics, the reflection of someone who had spent years watching the world, and now had something to say. V had become more than an idol. He was now a voice, a storyteller, an artist. And from that point forward, everything changed. The boy who was once hidden in the shadows was now shaping the light. There's a reason why millions call him the soul of BTS. Because when BTS began to rise, it wasn't just about choreography and catchy hooks. It was about depth. It was about storytelling. And no one embodied that quite like Kim Taehyung, V. BTS didn't debut with the glitz and glamour you see today. In 2013, they were underdogs. Coming from a small agency, Big Hit Entertainment, they didn't have the machine that backed other top K-pop groups. They had to earn every stage, every fan, every opportunity. And V, he was still finding his voice. But there was something undeniable about him. The deep, almost theatrical tone of his voice. The way he moved differently on stage, as if every performance meant something more. He wasn't just executing choreography, he was living it, feeling it. While other members brought power and precision, V brought nuance. Emotion, a kind of internal world that pulled you in. It was subtle, but that subtlety became his strength. Fans started noticing him not just for his looks, but for the way he could shift the energy of a performance with a single expression, a single glance. And as BTS started gaining momentum, first in Korea, then internationally, V's presence grew with it. He wasn't the loudest. He wasn't trying to be front and center all the time. But when he stepped into the light, people couldn't look away. One moment that changed everything was Warang, the historical K-drama where V made his acting debut in 2016. For many, it was the first time seeing a different side of him. Not just as a singer, but as a storyteller in every form. His character wasn't just a supporting role. He brought warmth, innocence, and heartbreak. It showed the world that V wasn't confined to one lane. He was building range. That same year, BTS began breaking into the US market. With albums like Wings and You Never Walk Alone, their music took on deeper themes: growth, temptation, loneliness, mental health. And in songs like Stigma, fans could hear V's voice cut through everything. Raw, vulnerable. It was the kind of performance that didn't just showcase vocal range, but emotional weight. He wasn't just singing notes, he was telling a story. Then came the viral moments. The performances that lit up YouTube. The fan cams with millions of views. The clips of V simply interacting with fans, laughing, crying, expressing gratitude. Without even trying, he was creating global resonance. He wasn't following the typical idol script, he was becoming something much more dangerous, authentic. By the time BTS started filling stadiums, winning Billboard awards, and performing at the Grammys, V had already become an icon to millions. But here's the thing most people didn't see. While the fame rose around him, he stayed grounded. Obsessed with growth, with artistry, with creating something that lasted. You'd find him in interviews talking about painting, photography, jazz, classical music. Not because it was trendy, but because it was real. It's what inspired him. And fans could feel that. This wasn't an idol chasing fame. This was an artist chasing feeling. Depth, connection. Every time BTS dropped a new era, Love Yourself, Map of the Soul, V kept evolving. New hairstyles, new outfits, new layers to his performance. He wasn't trying to reinvent himself for likes. He was exploring identity, emotion, the human condition. Through music, through visuals, through silence even. And what's so powerful about V's rise inside BTS is that he never fought to be the face. He let the art speak for itself. And somehow, in doing that, he became unforgettable. What happens when an artist doesn't just rise with the group, but begins to shape the culture itself? That's what we saw with V. Because as BTS skyrocketed to global superstardom, something else was quietly happening behind the scenes. He wasn't just participating in the rise, he was influencing it, shifting it, becoming a global force of his own. They called it the V effect. It wasn't just a fan-made term. It was a measurable, documented phenomenon. Whether it was a brand he wore, a phrase he said, or a selfie he posted, sales spiked. Trends exploded. Fashion lines sold out in minutes. And it wasn't manufactured hype, it was the power of genuine influence. The kind you can't fake. On Instagram, V broke records the moment he joined. Within hours, his follower count soared past millions. Not just in Korea, not just in Asia, but globally. From Brazil to Paris, the US to the Middle East, everyone was watching. And when he dropped his solo music, that influence came into full focus. Singularity was one of the first moments that revealed just how distinct his solo identity was. A haunting blend of R&B, jazz, and atmospheric visuals. It wasn't just a song. It was a message, a world, and it hit different. Critics praised its artistry. Fans dissected every frame of the video, every lyric, every movement. Later, his solo tracks like Inner Child and Stigma offered even more insight into who he was, not just as an artist, but as a man. Someone grappling with memory, identity, pain, healing. These weren't generic love songs. These were emotional letters. And listeners felt that. When he finally released Layover, his first solo album, it was clear. This wasn't a side project. It was a statement. The sound? Smooth, soulful, rich with feeling. The visuals? Cinematic, understated, vintage in tone, but modern in execution. The response? Massive. Chart-topping numbers. International acclaim. Millions of streams. But more than the metrics, it was the emotional connection fans had to the project. It felt like a direct window into his inner world. His quiet moments. His reflections. His dreams. He didn't need loud beats or flashy production to dominate the charts. He did it with elegance, with restraint, with authenticity, and that made the impact even deeper. He became the face of luxury campaigns, Celine, Cartier, Berluti, not just as a model, but as a muse. He wasn't trying to fit into fashion. Fashion was shifting to match him. His influence wasn't just musical, it was visual, emotional, cultural. He defined a new kind of masculinity. Soft yet strong, reflective, artistic, vulnerable. In a world that often praises loud confidence, V showed the power of quiet charisma, that you don't have to scream to be heard. Sometimes all it takes is presence. The V effect meant more than just selling out brands. It was about shifting values, from perfection to personality, from performance to presence, from idol to icon. And all of this, he did without ever losing his humility. He didn't chase attention. He attracted it, through consistency, thoughtfulness, and artistry that refused to be boxed in. Today, V's global impact isn't just about numbers. It's about influence, real influence, the kind that moves industries, shapes conversations, inspires creators across the world, from musicians and actors to designers and filmmakers. He went from being the hidden member of BTS to becoming one of the most influential Asian artists of this generation. And that's the power of the V effect. V's influence extends far beyond music charts or social media metrics. His impact is cultural, deep, lasting. He didn't just help globalize K-pop, he redefined what it could be. In an industry often known for uniformity and polished presentation, V brought something different, an emotional depth that resonated worldwide. His artistic choices, whether it was a jazz-inspired solo track, a quiet black and white concept shoot, or a melancholic stage performance, invited fans to feel, not just watch. He brought nuance into the spotlight, vulnerability into vogue. He inspired a generation of fans to express themselves without needing to be loud, flashy, or perfect. His soft-spoken personality, quiet confidence, and thoughtful presence gave people permission to value introspection. In a world that often praises extroversion, V became the symbol of emotional intelligence, someone who could fill a room without raising his voice. His influence on fashion is just as notable. V didn't follow trends, he created them. Oversized cardigans, muted palettes, soft lines, vintage looks, he made them global. What he wore on the airport runway became a global statement within hours. Fashion houses paid attention. Luxury brands didn't just work with him, they built around him. But more importantly, V made high fashion feel human. Accessible. Artistic. He wasn't trying to look expensive. He was trying to express something, and that made people connect even more deeply. V also brought more attention to the importance of individuality within groups. In BTS, each member is unique. But V's journey showed how a member can evolve into a full-fledged artist without overshadowing the collective. He didn't break away from the group to become solo. He deepened who he was and brought that depth back to BTS. That's why his legacy is bigger than fame. It's about transformation. He transformed expectations, not just for K-pop idols, but for global artists. He proved that Korean music and storytelling could stand alongside any genre, in any language, and move people in any country. He helped young artists see that you don't have to mold yourself to fit the industry. You can make the industry bend toward you. You can be soulful, still, deep. You can cry, reflect, slow down, and still be powerful, still be legendary. V showed that art is not about volume. It's about authenticity. His legacy isn't only what he's done, but what he's inspired others to do. And that's the mark of real cultural impact. Not trends, transformation. As K-pop enters a new era, with global audiences, massive streaming numbers, and multi-billion-dollar industries forming around it, one thing is clear. It's no longer just a genre. It's a movement, a cultural export, a force reshaping entertainment across continents. But movements need leaders. And V isn't just part of this wave, he's one of the artists guiding where it goes next. What separates V from so many others in the industry isn't just his voice or visuals. It's his vision, his ability to balance tradition and innovation, to respect the roots of K-pop while pushing the boundaries of what a K-pop artist can become. When you watch his solo projects, whether it's the stripped-down jazz tones of Layover or the cinematic depth of his music videos, you see an artist who's not just performing, he's curating an experience. He's designing a mood, crafting a feeling, speaking to people on levels beyond language. That's the future of K-pop. It's not just about choreography and vocals anymore. It's about narrative, about authenticity, about emotional connection. And V gets that. As K-pop becomes more decentralized, with artists collaborating across borders, posting directly to fans, and building personal brands outside the group framework, V becomes a prime example of what this future looks like. A solo artist with mainstream credibility, but still deeply loyal to his group. A creator who can trend on TikTok, break records on Spotify, and still take his time to craft art that feels personal. That hybrid role, group icon, solo force, fashion muse, cultural ambassador, isn't common. And it isn't easy, but V makes it feel seamless. And because of that, younger idols coming into the scene are watching him, studying him, learning that you don't have to choose between creative freedom and commercial success. You can have both if you're intentional. In interviews, V has often said he doesn't rush. He takes his time. He waits until something feels right. That mindset may seem counter to the fast-paced, high-output industry of K-pop, but it's exactly what's needed right now. Artists who slow down, reflect, and create with purpose are the ones shaping the deeper legacy of this genre. In the next 5 to 10 years, K-pop will face challenges. Oversaturation, creative burnout, market fatigue. But it will also see reinvention. And artists like V are at the center of that reinvention. Because he's not just creating content, he's building culture. Whether it's through subtle fashion choices that ripple through entire style industries, or lyrics that spark global conversation about love, identity, and solitude, V's presence influences far beyond charts. It shifts taste. It reshapes the idea of what's cool. And most importantly, it reminds people that art is still about feeling something real. So where does K-pop go from here? It goes toward global fusion. It goes toward storytelling, toward solo ventures, toward mental health awareness, toward vulnerability in the spotlight. And V's career already embodies all of that. He's living proof that the future K-pop idol isn't just an entertainer. He's a thinker, a storyteller, a brand, a bridge between worlds. And the influence he leaves behind on stage, in fashion, in sound, in silence, will echo in the next generation of stars. Not because he forced it, but because he lived it with elegance and intention. The future of K-pop will be more global, more human, and more creative than ever. And V won't just be remembered as someone who rode that wave. He'll be remembered as someone who helped build it. In the end, V's story is not just a journey through K-pop. It's a mirror for anyone who's ever wanted to create something meaningful. To stand out, to be seen, not for how loud you are, but for how deeply you feel. Because V didn't rise to global fame by chasing the spotlight. He became a global icon by staying rooted in what mattered: art, connection, honesty, and emotion. While the world raced for numbers, views, and viral moments, he slowed down. He waited until the music was right, until the visuals told the story, until the message was real. And that's the lesson most people miss. In today's world, where everyone is shouting to be heard, the real power belongs to those who can speak softly and still move millions. V moves millions, not just because he's famous, but because he's intentional, consistent, emotionally intelligent, and unafraid to express beauty, vulnerability, and individuality in a world that often rewards sameness. If you're watching this video, you're likely a creator yourself. Maybe you're building something from scratch, an online brand, a music career, a digital business, a content platform. Maybe you're still in the shadows, wondering when the world will finally notice your work. Take a note from V's playbook. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room. You just need to make sure your voice is true. When V posts a photo, millions of fans take style inspiration. When he shares a lyric, people listen twice. When he drops a solo project, the internet stops. Why? Because he spent years earning trust. Years building not just a fan base, but a relationship with his audience. And you can do the same. You don't need to be a K-pop idol to build something that resonates. You need consistency. You need honesty. You need to care more about meaning than metrics. V didn't let fame define him. He defined his own lane inside of it. So ask yourself, what are you building? Are you chasing trends or building a legacy? Are you putting out noise or creating something people will return to again and again? You can be famous for a moment, or you can be remembered for a message. That's the difference between going viral and going timeless. V chose timeless. He built a body of work that reflects who he is, not just what sells. He made space for quiet moments, for softness, for elegance and simplicity. And in doing so, he reminded the world that art doesn't have to scream to be heard. If you're a digital entrepreneur, artist, or content creator, his story should light a fire in you. Because you don't need to be everything to everyone. You just need to be real and be consistent. That's how you become undeniable. V's story is proof that you can be yourself and still change the world. So whether you're building a brand, telling your story, or figuring out your voice, remember this. You don't need overnight success. You need alignment, vision, discipline, and the courage to express something deeper. One day, someone will look at your journey and say, wow, they came out of nowhere. But you'll know the truth. You didn't come out of nowhere. You built it, brick by brick, moment by moment, just like V. And that's what legacy is made of. There's something we haven't mentioned yet, something that might just be the secret to V's massive global influence. It's not talked about in headlines or interviews, but it's there in every performance, every photo, every quiet moment that still manages to move millions. It's energy. Every creator, every artist, every entrepreneur, whether they know it or not, transmits energy through their work. It's not the visuals or the sound alone that touch people. It's the emotion behind it, and that's where V truly shines. When V performs, he isn't just entertaining. He's transmitting emotion. His presence on stage, the way he looks into the camera, the way he carries a note, it's not an act. It's an offering. He's fully there. And that energy, that honesty, is what creates real connection. So here's the hidden key. If you want your work to matter, if you want to build something real that resonates with people on a deeper level, then stop trying to impress. Start trying to express. Your authenticity is your brand. Your energy is your message. And when it's clean, true, and aligned with your purpose, people feel it, even if they can't explain why. So if this video sparked something in you, don't let that feeling fade. Right now, you have two choices. You can keep scrolling and forget what you just felt, or you can go back to building your own vision. Start small if you need to, but start now. Because the only thing standing between you and your next level is the action you haven't taken yet. If you're serious about turning your creativity into something meaningful, into a brand, into a message, into a platform, subscribe now. This channel is for people like you. People with something to say, even if they haven't said it yet. Drop a comment and let us know. Say, I'm building something real. Let the world know you're not just watching. You're becoming. And if someone you know is full of quiet potential, someone who doesn't scream to be seen, but feels deeply and creates with heart, share this video with them. They might be the next V. Or maybe, just maybe, it's you. Now, if V could speak directly to you right now, this is the kind of message he might leave. I've always believed that you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to fit into someone else's mold to be worthy of attention. You can carve your own path. If you feel different, good. That difference is your magic. Don't hide it. The world has enough noise. It needs more truth. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real. Real stands out. Real endures. So sing your own song. Tell your own story. Keep showing up, even if it's quietly. Because someone out there is waiting to hear your voice, just like I once needed someone to hear mine. This is your moment. You don't need permission. Just purpose. Now go build something that lasts. Now, if V could speak directly to you right now, this is the kind of message he might leave. I've always believed that you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to fit into someone else's mold to be worthy of attention. You can carve your own path. If you feel different, good. That difference is your magic. Don't hide it. The world has enough noise. It needs more truth. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real. Real stands out. Real endures. So sing your own song. Tell your own story. Keep showing up, even if it's quietly. Because someone out there is waiting to hear your voice, just like I once needed someone to hear mine. This is your moment. You don't need permission. Just purpose. Now go build something that lasts. And if this story moved you, if you've ever dreamed of visiting Korea, learning the language, and maybe even standing in the same city as your favorite idol, let us know in the comments. Because who knows, someday you might be the one saying hi to V himself. Check the video description for more info about learning Korean, travel ideas, and the next steps on your own journey. You never know where your passion might take you.